Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, this channel is about spirituality. My name is Mariya. Please subscribe below so we can be YouTube friends. This video is about tattoos. Specifically, we're going to talk about what is the issue with tattoos. We're going to talk about tattoos as sigils, as markings on your body that connect you to the other side. We're going to talk about tattoo removal. How do you remove a tattoo? Why is it so hard? And what can you do if you got a tattoo, you don't like it, it no longer resonates with who you are, or you've maybe noticed some very strange things around your tattoo or the things that it has started attracting into your life and you want to get rid of it. We're going to dive into how to do that. It's not easy, which is why I wanted to make this video. Full disclosure, this is my second video about tattoos. I made one a few years back. If you really want to dive deeper into that topic, check out my first video about tattoos. This is going to be a continuation of that video with some additional bonus points and some additional information. On that note, I will continue the rest of this video with my eyes closed because it's going to be a channeling from my higher self. When I keep my eyes closed, it helps me tune in better and not get distracted by all of the incoming stimuli in front of me. That's that. That's why the eyes are closed. Now, before we dive in, I know that this channel is getting a lot of new eyes on it. And if you are new to my channel, if you're new to my work, I am also a meditation guide. I have this wonderful app called One Mother. One Mother is available through the App Store, through Apple, through iOS, as well as Android through Google Play. One Mother is a meditation app that your higher self would choose for you. It is not your basic mindfulness app. It goes straight into the esoteric. It goes straight into the deep, and the deepest depth. And every journey that I have available on the One Mother is deeply, deeply soul healing. It has a wide range of topics that most meditation apps don't go into. It has light language. It has parts work. It has past life regressions. It has all of the things that people usually charge a lot of money for. And a lot of the meditations on the app I do myself. But I've also started introducing other wonderful guides. And that way you're going to get exposure to the people who have different specialties. And that is really the beauty of the One Mother app. I hope that you give it a shot. And now we're diving into the topic of tattoos. Tattoos are so common these days that we almost think of them as a way to accessorize your body, as a way to adorn yourself, kind of like jewelry. And a lot of people don't really understand the significance of what a tattoo actually is. So in this video, we're going to dissect all about that. We're going to go really, really deep. Most importantly, we're going to get to the part that most videos about tattoos don't address, which is how to get rid of it if you think it's time, which is a very, very common ask on this channel. All right. I've mentioned in my first tattoo video that tattoos are actually energy portals. They are connecting you. They are a bridge between you and the energy that the tattoo represents. Very often, I see a soul come into different bodies, bearing very similar tattoos a lifetime after a lifetime after a lifetime. There is almost like a soul level deep connection to certain tattoos. And by the way, tattoos don't disappear when you die. And that's the kicker. And the reason they don't disappear is because a tattoo is not an adornment, and it is not a joke, and it's not a small game that we play to have fun. A tattoo is a magical artifact. It's a symbol, an energetic symbol that acts in a way almost like a standalone portal. A tattoo does not just belong on your physical body. It goes deeper. It goes into your light bodies as well. Think about the procedure, the process of getting a tattoo. Obviously, the ink needs to be deposited into your body, so there is some piercing involved. And as part of that ritual, because it is a ritual, certain blood vessels, certain capillaries can get punctured. And because of that, some minor bleeding is actually almost expected when you're getting a tattoo. Anytime you're getting any work done, and it results in you losing blood, even like a little droplet, even a little morsel is enough, it's considered a blood ritual, you guys. A blood ritual. I don't know how much you guys know about like demonic contracts and stuff, but usually, right, and they even put that in movies, that very often the contract with the devil or the contract with the dark side, like you sign with blood. It is because there is nothing more sacred as liquid in your body or as a representation of your life force as blood. It literally seals off all kinds of magical contracts. When blood is being lost, or rather gifted through the process of getting a tattoo, it creates a bond that would literally transcend death, right? So you would keep it in future lifetimes, even if there's no physical tattoo on your physical body. So tattoos usually go 4 levels deep. If you get a tattoo, you're going to obviously see it on your physical body. It will be, an etheric copy of it will be created in your energy body, a copycat. Very often, the same tattoo will have its imprint in your emotional body, your emotional field, and in your mental body. So all 4 of your lower bodies are going to be impacted by the tattoo. Sometimes even the causal body, which is 1 level up from mental, and that body manages cause and effect on karma, even that may be affected by a tattoo. So it goes many layers deep. It's not a toy. And it's not like a simple thing that you can just get on a whim. And I guess people do, but they just don't understand the repercussions. It's truly a portal, and it is written into your light bodies. Even on the physical level, you guys know getting rid of a tattoo is a headache and a half, and it's a very painful process. Getting rid of the tattoo on all of your light bodies is even harder, believe it or not. So what does it mean? And by the way, like as we look at tattoos, about 80% of the tattoo symbols that exist on planet Earth today are not taking you to the above. They're not raising your frequencies as portals. They're actually bringing you down. They're bringing you to the darker side. They're taking you away from light, away from God. Again, not by design, but there are a lot of symbols that people choose to tattoo on their body are not connecting them to the right beings, right? So that's that. So not only are you going to have a permanent portal on your body that's going to be written, thanks to the blood ritual aspect of it, into many different layers of your body, which makes it really, really hard to get rid of. This thing won't even disappear when you die, and that is just the kicker. There's something else to be said around 2 other spots actually 3 spots that in general, I would not recommend you ever consider for a tattoo. There are 3 places that, like, please, 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 if you can avoid those like a plague, do. The most problematic tattoos that I have seen are on the face, on people's faces. And I don't mean like the contouring of the lip, but I mean like an actual symbol of something, right? Most problematic is the face. The second most problematic is around the navel. Some people would have little portals, it's like little stars, and they're usually blackened out or something else around their navel. That's probably the second most problematic spot to have a tattoo. I'll explain why. The third most problematic is have the sleeves. The tattoo sleeves. Some people literally cover their entire arms with just dark ink. And, there are many, usually you start small and then you're like, okay, hey, this tattoo, let me slap a bigger one on top of it. Let me slap another one on top of it. Whoops, never mind. Don't like the result. Let me get the sleeve. So there's usually a progression. I'll explain why I have issues with these kinds of tattoos. When you tattoo anything on your face, it actually impacts your self-concept, your ego, and who you are. It opens you up to the highest form of possession that you can open yourself up through a tattoo. So a tattoo is not just a portal into a particular frequency, but it does open you up to demonic entities as well, depending on what is being tattooed. Facial tattoos are especially problematic. The bigger the tattoo, the more of an impact on your being the entity that could possibly want to possess you through a tattoo would have. And facial tattoos are usually the most problematic. Usually when I see people with facial tattoos, especially large tattoos, those are the people with the biggest unresolved past life karma that is connecting them to the demonic realm. Pretty bad stuff. Very often it is a series of lives when they're suicidal or when they experience full-on demonic possession. It could be a series of lifetimes where they had psychiatric issues, right? So things like schizophrenia, and just being locked up in an asylum. So things like that with facial tattoos. Again, you don't touch your face. That is like the big no-no. That is not the part of your face where you want to have a portal, because it makes you the most prone to possession. That's that. The reason I don't love tattoos around the navel, especially when they're singling out your navel. Your navel is the part of your body that feeds, obviously, as when you're a baby in mother's womb, you are getting all of your sustenance through the umbilical cord in the navel. Even as an adult, it is an extremely important energy aspect of your body. This is one of the seats of your inner sun, your inner whirlpool of energy. So when you're creating tattoos that are circling around the navel or somehow just kind of like cutting it off from the rest of it, like a tattoo essentially, etherically, very often when you're an energy healer and somebody has a large tattoo, you would notice that at an etheric level, you don't see an energy body. You see a physical body of a person, but there's no energy body. There's no activity going on in the energy body. And that's like just a fact. So essentially, it's a part, like a tattoo kind of like can black out or remove parts of your etheric body, creating an energy hole or an opening. You don't want an opening next to your navel because that is the seat of your power. That is the seat of your energy. That is the quickest way to give away your life force to somebody or something else and not even know that. The reason I have a problem with sleeve tattoos is because our hands are the proxy for our actions, our ability to impact change in our own lives, our ability to get what we want, our ability to change our circumstances. When people have sleeve tattoos, it drastically impacts your ability to get the results that you want. It's not even results. Sometimes at face value, people with these like sleeved hands, they're going to be like very successful in society. They're usually very stuck in a particular place in their lives, and that is what they're going to feel powerless to. It could be them becoming powerless to an addiction. It could be them being powerless to, like, I don't know, some mental disease or whatnot. And having your hands blocked out, having your hands essentially non-existent energetically is a problem because it means that you cannot act in the physical realm. It's essentially like your free will disappears. You cannot make an impact in a way that all souls come here to make an impact. So that is my third. It's a third spot on my list of most problematic tattoos. I highly, highly, highly won't recommend that. There are a bunch of other issues with tattoos. Again, it's a portal that you cannot get rid of. It's very hard to close down. It is very often an energy leak. There have been time and time again that people who have gotten tattoos, they started reporting that all of a sudden that, their lives started shifting, and not always for the better. A tattoo being that it's like a living sigil, and a sigil is like a marking, like a mystical marking, a magical marking on your body. It's not like, it almost like becomes a sentient being. It starts developing its own consciousness. It's going to start attracting things into your life. And those are not necessarily great things always. It depends. It depends on what the tattoo represents. And there's so much nuance around a tattoo. For example, you may tattoo the word love, but because through the virtue of you, when that word was tattooed on your body, you were experiencing pain, physical pain. What that may come to represent in your body is love is pain. And that is what your body remembers, because this tattoo is going to create an imprint in your emotional body and in your mental body. So the state that you're in when the tattoo is being applied is actually going to have full-on impact on what this tattoo is going to recreate as a sensation in your body. Sometimes people tattoo something as a result of a breakup. Now, of course, when you are in pain after a breakup and you just tattoo something as a reminder to yourself, you're like, okay, I will never forget that, like, I'm strong, or whatever they're putting on their body as a reminder that they're strong. But really, the undercurrent of that tattoo is going to be the emotional state that they were in when they were getting the tattoo. And what's going to be imprinted underneath the I'm strong is I'm in pain. I just got broken up with. I cannot trust men or women or whatever, whatever else you're thinking as you're getting the tattoo. That is all being imprinted, right? And that is the frequency that is going to be solidified in your body like a bookmark in the book. And anytime you look at it, or even if you don't look at the thing, it's still there, and that's going to store, it's going to continue to vibrate at that same frequency that you emitted when you got the tattoo. Again, another rule of ritual magic or blood magic, right? It just literally encapsulates a snapshot of like a place in time, or like an emotion, again, that you experienced at one point. That's another issue with that. Other problematic things with tattoos. Oh gosh, they absorb a portion of the energy of the tattoo master. They just do, right? Because it's essentially a contract in a way. It's a paid contract. It's a service, right? You usually have a tattoo master. You pay them the money. But not only your own emotional state is going to be encapsulated in that tattoo, but a portion of the energy field of the tattoo master shall as well. So it is extremely important who you're getting your tattoo from. A lot of tattoo masters, unfortunately, are not not the most spiritual, not the most mindful, not the most conscious people. Not to overgeneralize, there are exceptions to every rule, but just be mindful who you're letting into your auric field, especially if they're going to touch your blood. Because a tattoo artist is close to your blood, so close to your life force. So there's a lot of distortions that are very possible there. That's that. The most important part, if you have decided that the tattoo doesn't work anymore, right? It's a whole ordeal to try to get rid of it. And the challenge is, even when somebody makes it disappear at the physical realm, all the other doorways are still open. Your energy tattoo is still intact. Your emotional body is still tattooed. Your mental body is still tattooed. Your causal body, most likely, one of your spiritual bodies is still tattooed. So really, the symbol is not gone. It's one of those like nasty doors. Once you open it, closing it is a problem. Closing it is a challenge and a half. So what do you do? Etherically, and essentially, you start always with the energy level. When you close your eyes, you get into a meditative state. Here's the thing to know about a tattoo. The tattoo, first and foremost, when you activate it, it's the energy of fire inside of your body. So, and etherically, if it's a word, for instance, right, the word love, like let's just use that as an example, it's going to look like there was a piece of stone or something, and then somebody drilled the word love into it. That's at the energy level I'm looking, right? And that energy and that word love is going to be filled with liquid lava. So instead of it being just been written in a very nice way, the word love is going to be written in fire, essentially, or liquid lava, if you will. What is the problem with the energies of fire? I love the energies of fire, and there is obviously a need for fire. But what is the problem of having the energies of fire tattooed on your body? Fire is a very energy-consuming frequency. In other words, fire always requires rekindling, right? And if you guys have ever had a bonfire, you have to keep feeding it wood or some kind of other sustenance, some kind of other material, because fire eats through things very, very quickly. Unlike water, for instance, right? Water, like if you have a water fountain, you don't have to replenish it quite so much. Fire is an energy-intensive frequency. In other words, a large chunk of your life force is going to just go into maintaining the frequency of that tattoo. So you will have less energy to do everything else that you want to do with your life. That's another thing that's really important to know about tattoos. It takes away from the life force available to you for all the things you want to do with your life. And that life force is going to go specifically and directly into maintaining the tattoo. So as you're seeking to get rid of a tattoo, the first and most important thing is to put that fire out. Of course, just like with the physical fire, the best energy to make it happen is water. So step one of getting rid of a tattoo on an energetic level is to imagine that tattoo being imprinted into the fabric of your being, almost like set in stone. And you either see a symbol or a word, and you see it created by liquid lava. First, you pour like a massive amount of water over that fire. And you keep pouring until it gets extinguished. Step number 2 is what I would refer to as the stitching. What would be left once the fire is extinguished is literally just the imprint of that word or the imprint of that symbol inside of the fabric of your energy body. What you need to do is you need to take an etheric or golden needle and thread and start stitching. If it's like a letter L, for instance, you stitch the two sides of the of the letter so that it disappears. So there is no opening, or so there is no imprint of that letter that is being created, right? So like essentially you stitch it up, and you want to do a very thorough job. And when you do the stitching right, at the end, you just see the golden stitching, but you don't see any letters, and you cannot really tell apart any symbols. And of course, this becomes problematic if you have a large tattoo, right? Like if you have something really big and intricate that takes up half of your back or whatnot, it's going to be a pretty intricate process. And it would require for you to like memorize what your tattoo looks like so you can stitch all of its parts up on your, as you're working with energy. But trust me, it's going to be worth it. Once the tattoo has been collapsed like that with the stitching, the moment that it is fully stitched up, you're going to notice it disappearing. Literally, like the golden threads are going to disappear, and what you're going to be left with is just an even surface. Even kilted, like no imprints, no nothing, no ability to tell what the word was that was there. You need to do this at least 2 more times. So this is the first thing that we did was at the energy of, at the level of energy, the etheric body, your second body. The next body up is your emotional body. That is where your emotions live. Your tattoo is going to create a particular set of emotions in you. You may not be aware that is happening, but I guarantee you that because your tattoo is vibrating at a particular side or in a particular place of the emotional spectrum. So it's going to create a very consistent, very prevalent emotion in your body. By the way, though, the same exact imprint, and emotional bodies are usually emerald. So you would see like an emerald terrain, and that same word, love in this case, would be imprinted in the emotional body. I don't generally see the fire at the emotional level. Sometimes it's water. Or very often it's water, or it's just going to be empty because, our emotions are water. What you want to do is you want to do this, like first you want to drain the water if you have water that is creating this symbol. You drain it and you just, then it's just an empty terrain with an imprint of the word or the symbol. Then you take another golden needle and thread, you stitch that up. And when you're done, it disappears. And then you see a smooth green surface. When the emotional level is done, you move up to the mental level. The mental level is usually blue or steely blue. The mental level is the level of the realm of air. Normally, you would see the same imprint on the floor, kind of, in the fabric of that mental body, of that symbol. And you would notice like black clots or black clouds around it. It's like this darkness that is supporting the tattoo. So what you want to do is you want to do a little bit of a cleanse. You want to remove all of the black clouds, all of the darkness away from the tattoo. So you have a very clear working space. And then again, you do the stitching. You stitch it up. When it's done and completely stitched up, the needle and the thread would disappear. It's just going to look like a perfectly good, smooth, kind of like silvery blue or steely blue surface. And that is when you're pretty much done. Like I would stop at the mental level for most tattoos, right? So it takes like 3 levels of stitching things up, plus, of course, removing it from the physical level. If you just remove it from your etheric body, like if you're from your energy bodies, from your light bodies, don't remove the tattoo physically, it's going to get activated again. There's absolutely no point. There's absolutely no use. The reverse, though, is also true. Just removing something from your skin while not working at the energy level still keeps the portal open. It connects you to whatever energies it connects you to, whatever you tattooed. And again, there are so many issues and problems with tattoos. Speaking of the word love, in this day and age, in this world that is quite polarized, you cannot just claim one side of the polarity without claiming the other side of the polarity. So for people that have the word love tattooed, I often see the underpinning and the undercurrent of hate or like loss or whatever is the opposite in their mind, like of love, right? Like love or loss or love or hate. And at face value, they just tattoo the word love and like, what's wrong with love? All you need is love. But the underpinning of that is you have to take both polarities. The moment you have a God, you have the devil, right? Or the moment you have Jesus, you also have the dark side. That is the rule of polarity. You just cannot take one side of the polarity without taking the other. So if you're taking love, you're going to have to take hate or whatever is the version of polarity that got attracted to you. Another version of polarity that love can attract is indifference. Being in love with someone versus being indifferent. That is also another way to deal with this polarity, right? So, in other words, I would not recommend the word love tattooed on your body or any other polarizing thing like light and love or just light. Okay, there's something, if you tattoo light somewhere on your arm, there's going to be darkness somewhere on the other side, right? And you're always going to be on like teetering on the edge and like trying to balance out the two polarities. Like life is hard enough. You don't also need that. What else do I need to tell you about tattoos? You know what? Let me take the questions from the collective, just have you guys drive this conversation. Anything about tattoos that still remains unclear? I'm ready to receive the question. The question is, what tattoos are safe? I'm dreading this question because the answer is it really depends. It really depends. And the reason that this is the answer is because there are some universal symbols that I would consider to be good. But in your auric field, they can turn sour very, very quickly because of your own personal karma or your own personal relationship with that symbol. And again, by bringing in one symbol and standing for one thing, you are putting yourself in opposition to everything else. Example, a butterfly in general is a very good symbol. It's a very cute symbol. It represents lightness, it represents the element of air, it represents transformation. But the other side of it is being ungrounded, not being fully tethered to the earth. Because if you're of the air element, you're not of the earth. So for those people who are ungrounded, who have a little bit of a tendency to, be carried away or daydream, or people who cannot get focused or get fully plugged into this reality, I would never recommend a butterfly. So whatever is medicine for one person is a curse for another. I have a hard time giving you a symbol that is going to be universally beloved by all. Even the symbol of the sun can be problematic. Because, for instance, there is the solar cult and then there is the lunar cult or the moon cult. And what I mean by cult is, even in the zodiac, you have sun signs and certain energies that are closer to the moon. And in the days of old, there used to be different priesthood groups that were worshiping the sun or worshiping the moon. For some of you, if you came from a lunar cult or a moon cult, I don't know, like goddess Artemis, for instance, had the priestesses that were part of the lunar cult, or goddess Hecate, for instance, right? A lot of witches from the lunar cult. Nothing wrong with those energies. Hermes, the one that birthed the Hermetic principles of the lunar cult, of the moon cult. If you put a sun on somebody from the moon cult, it would dampen their flow because the sun and the moon are often in opposition. So I cannot quite say that the sun is such a great symbol. Same thing, star. Let's take a beloved symbol of a star. Again, if you're not the right person for this symbol, it could really hurt you because the star can mean, again, being ungrounded. The star can mean escapism, trying to escape reality. For a starseed, a star can mean like, okay, I'm not okay with being present on Earth. I really want my star home, etc., etc. And because of that, I just have a hard time recommending tattoos as a thing. Here's what I will recommend as a way to kind of like bypass some of these like just some of the complications. You never really know until you try it. And symbol is one aspect of the tattoo, but the part of your body where this goes is also very important. because you can accidentally put a tattoo over a very important meridian or energy line in your body. And that could completely mess with the frequency of that meridian, and it can cause a malfunction in your physical organ. It could cause a malfunction in your energy field, in your immune system. It can completely turn off your immune system. So, like, the symbol is half the trouble. The other half is where it goes in your body and how big it is, frankly, and how much room it's going to take. So there is no such thing that's universally bad for everybody, but you have to be really careful. And so if you are testing out a tattoo, I recommend first getting a fake one. You know, like the sticky tattoos that you can, like, the removable tattoos that like the kids play with? Try that for a size and wear it for at least 30 days. You have to go for a full moon cycle and then some, like 28 days plus, and record how you're feeling in that month. Like, keep a journal. And actually then reread your journal and ask yourself the question, if this was my emotional and mental state for the rest of my life, would I be okay with it, or do I not love it? And if you don't not love what's in that journal, it could be, and most likely is, connected to that tattoo. I'm not saying it's the only deciding factor, but it could be a contributing factor. And if you were to introduce a permanent tattoo on your body, most likely you would experience the same realm of emotions, right? And it can only be empirically tested. So test drive it, and ideally you would test drive it for more than 1 month. And if you love what you're sensing, if you love your level of energy, if you love your mental space, your thoughts, if you love how you're feeling during that month, then more power to you. Then that is the right symbol for you and it's positioned in the right place. If not, the symbol may be correct, the placing may be wrong. So try it on a different spot. But again, not your face, not the arms, not the, really the hands. I hate the hands either. Like, just don't touch the arms and the hands if you can. And nowhere close to your navel. Like, those would be no-nos for me. Also, again, just covering like, the bigger the tattoo, the bigger the impact, right? Every part of your body is connected to a chakra. So if you're creating a big tattoo somewhere around your heart space, you're creating a hole in your aura around your heart space, for instance. Are you ready for the repercussions of that? Are you ready for the consequences? Because the choice is yours. I don't know. Same thing in the back. Like, people really love tattoos in the back. You guys, the spinal cord is our primary energetic artery, if you will, like energetic meridian. There's so much energy going up through our spinal cord, up and down, that we're so dependent on it. It is our most important highway of energy. If you're tattooing your back and you're really doing that close to your spinal cord, just beware, because it will mess with your level of energy. It will mess with what is available to you. It will mess with the flow. It may literally break the meridian apart, and instead of it being like just one highway, it's going to be a disjointed number of like little pieces. So tattoos on there are problematic. Not going to lie. So test drive a tattoo if you absolutely must have one. But again, so many things can go wrong. And by the way, just don't underestimate a tattoo. It is a magical artifact. It is a blood ritual, which means it will be with you for lifetimes, most likely. Are you ready for that level of commitment? Because even when you're committing to a wife, even when you're committing to having a child in this lifetime, it ends when you die. A tattoo does not. You know what else does not? The vows you give to secret societies. That's why when I work with people, it's mind-boggling how many promises and vows are stuck in their throat center that just don't disappear. Oh, and a lot of contracts signed with blood. That's another part. That's my pet peeve. That's something that I'm like, oh my God, of course another one. Of course another one. Like, why, why wouldn't there be any? And tattoos, of course, are extremely problematic. Why should you care that you have a hole in your etheric body because there's a large tattoo? Because there is no energy going there. If there is no energy going there, your body cannot heal itself. If your body cannot heal itself, don't be surprised if that is where you develop a disease. Your chakra cannot be operating properly if a part of it is missing. Do you catch my drift? It's like problematic on so many different ways. So just beware. Okay. I wanted to see if the collective has another question for me around tattoos. The question is, I believe I have my tattoo from a past life. Um, I did not feel like fully myself until I attached it, but now I feel like somebody's looking at me through that tattoo. Is that connected to an entity? Yes, a lot of tattoos are connected to entities. In fact, I will tell you that you think it's you wanting a tattoo. Very often it's an entity that wants access to your body that is influencing you to want a particular tattoo in a particular place. Very often that would be the case if an agreement with that entity or a contract with that entity has been long-standing in your relationship. There are quite a number of people watching this video right now that have such contracts where you just, like, you didn't feel fully complete until you had a tattoo of a particular thing on a particular place. It's not random. Very often you were coerced or cajoled into that by an entity that just really wanted full access to your energy field. How do you get rid of that tattoo? By just getting rid of that tattoo here in this body, it's not going to be fully sealed. You're going to have to go back to the very beginning. When you sit down to meditate and do the removal exercise, the stitching practice that we talked about a few minutes before, what you want to go to is the first lifetime when this tattoo was created. And the way you do that is by feeling yourself rotating counterclockwise. So counterclockwise rotation takes us to the past. And it's also movement to the left. So here's, like, you're going to sit in the meditative state. Sit for this meditation. Don't lay down. And you're going to start feeling like your body is rotating counterclockwise and to the left, kind of like into the past. It goes into the left, into the left, into the left until it hits. And you literally ask the universe to take you to the first life where the attachment with that entity that gave you the tattoo was created in the first place. And the universe will take you to the very exact place. And you would be able to see your body there, almost like a past life regression, with a very similar tattoo that you have right now. And, if you're open to receiving the information, you may even get guidance on how many times you have had that tattoo in past lives, like how many consecutive lifetimes. And some of you may even get glimpses into, like, what is this contract? And, like, why did you want this entity to have access to your body? But long story short is you want to do the stitching in the first lifetime, in the past. You want to do the stitching exercise that I told you about in that past life, not right now, in the past lifetime. And that is what's most important. And sometimes there's also, like, you would have to consider the contract that was created with an entity, because some of these tattoos come with contracts. And those contracts need to be broken. The way you break a contract with an entity is very simple. You understand what the energy exchange is between you and the entity. What are you getting for it and what are you giving? And in order to reverse the energy exchange, you have to give back what the entity gave you. And that breaks a contract because they're going to have to give back your freedom to you or your energy to you or whatever else you promised. And that breaks a contract. Usually the contract that's broken can just be burned. And that is when you can stitch up that tattoo and, like, be done with the contract, be done with that sigil, and, like, call it a day and be clean and move on. If you do not know how to do this, or if this wasn't a good enough explanation and you feel I'm the guide for you, I do have a very limited amount of personal sessions that you can find on thisismariya.com. I'm happy to help you through a demonic attachment, a contract, getting rid of your tattoo, or anything else that you see problematic, especially if it's like a bigger than life problem and you cannot solve it on your own. I do make myself available for that kind of work when it gets really tough. So check out thisismariya.com. All right, my darlings, I'll take one last question on the tattoo side of things, and we're going to call it a day. Anything else I can help with on the tattoo front? The question is about matching tattoos. Somebody's saying, I have a history of having matching tattoos. I have it with my best friend, and then we fell out of, there's no longer a friendship. It used to be a best friend, and you still feel like there is an energetic attachment. So what do you do with that? And then part of that same question is they're kind of from different people, but they're very similar in essence. Somebody's asking that they have the sense that they were part of a secret society in a past life, and they had matching tattoos at the back of their necks. 5 people just had like matching tattoos to signify the brotherhood or the sisterhood that they were a part of and how to get rid of that. The first thing I will tell you is this. When you're getting matching tattoos with anyone, it is a bond that's going to transcend lifetimes. Like you already are signing up for a bond. If you don't see that person again, if you fall out of love with them, if you're no longer friends, if you have a falling out, whatnot, the tattoo is still going to maintain the bond. So first you're going to need, because these 2 tattoos are they're part of the same energetic entity. They're part of the same artifact, if you will. In order to get rid of that, first you would break the bond because there is a bridge between the 2, and you cut it with energetic scissors of light and the part of your intention. You take your energy back, you send the energy of the person back to them, and then you do the stitching exercise. If we're talking about getting rid of a tattoo that was part of the sacred brotherhood or sisterhood in this case, you cut it out from all of however many people there were that got the matching tattoos. That is how many cuts you need to make. You have to cut your cords with all of these people in that circle. Give them their energy, take your energy back. Then you do the stitching. Last but not least, there's always a vow that is, associated with those types of sigils, with those types of tattoos. So, and those vows are usually stored in your throat center. So you want to remove that vow and you want to burn it and you want to rescind your words, and whatever you promised, you want to annul that. You want to rewrite that with the power of your own words, saying, whatever I promised in that lifetime is now null and void and no longer has any force in my life or in my body. And so it is. And then you're going to be done with a tattoo. You're going to be done with your ties to those people. You're going to be done with the order. And that's just really, really good spiritual hygiene. Thank you for sticking around with me for this esoteric topic. Thank you for being brave little souls on a path of discovery. I love you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.